everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the PokePopCast. We have a special episode today. About 2 weeks ago, on February 16th, right before the Collinsville Regional near St. Louis, we held a professor seminar sanctioned by Pokemon. And it was supposed to be recorded and streamed, and unfortunately that fell through. However, we were lucky that some of the video was recorded, and the audio is a little bad, so I'm going to make it as good as I can, and it's pretty good on the section we're going to have today. For the section coming up, questions and answers, I'll probably need to put subtitles on it because it's a little rough. But what we do have is the final section on cheating. So there were a number of topics discussed. I presented a couple of them. I led off with shuffling, and then talked about sleeves and marked cards. And then we had Corey talk about slow play, and we finished up with Vince talking about cheating. Unfortunately, the first sections, the video is there, but the audio was lost. But luckily, those are all topics that have previously been topics on the PokePopCast. So, for shuffling, you can look at PokePopcasts number 4 and number 9. And for sleeves, you can look at PokePopcast number 3. And for marked cards, you can look at one of our more recent ones, PokePopcast number 12. And finally, slow play, we had it's an hour-long podcast, so there's a lot of information in that. An interview with Vince Kreckler, who's going to be doing the cheating one coming up, and myself doing the interview. And we have a long discussion on slow play. So that's PokePopcast number 8. I highly recommend. I will put up the slide presentations that go along with that part of the seminar. But to get the information that fleshed out and discussed, I highly recommend checking out those podcasts if you have not already. But here we are coming up. We will show the cheating part of the seminar, and on the seminar following this, on the podcast following this, we will show the Q&A section for this. So a lot of good information. Take it away, Vince.
How does Pokemon define cheating? Players who intentionally commit infractions that are looking to gain an unfair advantage over other players in the event. The head judge should carefully consider whether an infraction was intentional or unintentional before applying the penalty. If the head judge feels that this infraction was unintentional, this penalty should not be applied. Intentional. You gotta look into their heads, which is almost impossible. The examples of unsporting cheating including drawing extra cards. But wait, isn't drawing extra cards just a prize penalty under the new guidelines? Drawing extra cards accidentally is a prize penalty. Drawing extra cards when you knew what you were doing because you thought it was a prize penalty and you got that counter catcher in your hand, you're done, buddy. That's a disqualification. Taking cards from the discard pile and adding them to your hand or deck. Offering some form of compensation to an opponent for a concession. Bribery. God love bribery. Altering match results after the conclusion of a match. Playing with marked cards, and Mike Martin went all the way into this. And yes, at some point, it's cheating. Lying to event staff. Arbitrarily adjusting the special conditions or damage counters put on any Pokemon in play. I mean, we're sitting here reading over these things and you're going, yeah, they knocked the dice off. Was it on purpose? Was it accidental? The marked cards, they got those from the vendor. Was it marked cards? There's all sorts of things. Use of dubious actions intended to deceive your opponent into making misplays. The infamous, what is this card? Do you know what this card does? Question. Attempting to manipulate a random result. Some people stacking your guy. Once again, jumping back to Mike Martin. Recommended starting penalties. Tier 1, disqualification. Tier 2, disqualification. Tier 0, very strict talking to it league. Talking to it the parents. If they're going to cheat, then this is not the game for them. This is not the place for them. Why no leniency? What stops us from catching cheaters? There's too many players to watch all actions. Wanting to give players the benefit of the doubt. I think this is the one that puts most judges in a tough spot. We have good kids. We raise good kids. Our kids wouldn't cheat. Why would this kid cheat? Difficulty of accusation or ramification, but what goes along with it? Glenn, saw you draw the extra card on your opponent's turn. Why'd you draw it? Well, Glenn. Nobody wants that confrontation. Especially with a cute 7-year-old little girl. Getting confused or conflicting stories between players and cheating's accused. Oh, you get creative and nobody's remembering who's paying attention on their opponent's turn. My son's infamous on stream against a Night March deck for playing Yahtzee while his opponent was doing everything. This one I think is a real problem. Fear of getting the call wrong. I just accused Glenn of drawing an extra card. Glenn didn't draw an extra card. Glenn dropped one of his cards out of his hand in front of his deck, and when I looked at it, it looked like he picked it up. I just accused Glenn of cheating. Dog, I'm going to feel bad if I can actually be shown to be wrong. And Glenn may never trust me again as a judge, because now I think Glenn, he thinks I think he's a cheater. Fun facts about cheaters. All cheaters are liars. Repeat. All cheaters are liars. They're lying to their opponent. They're lying to the game, the judge, anyone they can. And they've had a lot of success. And this is one thing I want you to take away from this seminar. Next time you think about cheating, don't do it from the perspective of the cheater. Do it from the perspective of the person who got cheated. What's the lesson of cheaters get away with it? You have to cheat to win. They cheated, they won. If you're not cheating, you're not going to win. If you do not believe in cheating, you better find something else to do if the cheater gets away with it. Complete lack of respect for judging and the rules. No one has to follow them. Why should we? We do not want to turn cheated players into cheaters. And that's water and popcorn. Anybody who wonders why I love water and popcorn. But if cheaters still get away with it, what are we teaching? Cheating will be permitted. Cheaters will be allowed to be rewarded and succeed. Judges won't be there to help you. And we've got that nasty penalty, failure to maintain game state. The warning when a called out cheater doesn't get penalized. Good players feel they have to cheat to level the playing field, or good players and families leave the game. None of this is acceptable. How do we stop the cycle? As a community of judges, we committed to tolerating cheating no more. I mean, I can't put it any simpler. We tolerate it no more. When a player is caught cheating, it's a disqualification. No second chance for cheaters. This is not just a problem in masters, juniors, and seniors too. But to go back and a player's caught cheating, it's a disqualification. It's not necessarily a ban. They may have had a bad time. They may have felt pressure to do really well in a tournament. We have to be strong and firm. And what's worse, if you've got a little guy, conversations with the parents are never pleasant. But if they're done in a factual manner, here's what I saw your child do, and not in an apologetic manner, it is much more effective. Don't let the parents make excuses. Oh, he had a bad night, he didn't get any sleep, well, so did half the kids in the room. What's not effective? Warning a cheater after they've cheated, yet not been disqualified, and not been fully punished. What are you telling the cheating player? 1, they got away with it. 2, they got to get away with it. It worked. And 4, they weren't caught and they should do it again. And I am 100% sure of this slide. The first time you catch a cheater is not the first time they cheated. Cheaters practice their techniques and often what they're going to do if they get caught. Once a cheater is caught, they need to be dealt with. Are all mistakes cheating? We can really turn this into a witch hunt. And I've been around Pokemon for almost 20 years judging, and you get into this cycle where suddenly everything starts looking like a marked card, or everything starts looking like a bad sleeve, or everything starts looking like bad shuffling. I don't want that to happen with cheating as well. There's a big difference between making a mistake and cheating. And it's often very difficult to tell the difference. Some are real easy. Those are rare. Drew an extra card with an N, first time, penalized an entire tournament. And every judge who's judging at the highest level in this room can tell you stories of players who got away when we were almost sure they were cheating, but weren't completely sure. And exactly what I said. Everybody says, oh, I'd love to be head judge. I can't wait to be head judge. It sounds great. Until you're sitting where Steve comes up to me. I saw him draw the extra card. I'm only a judge on the floor. I think this is a disqualification for the head judge. And I, as the head judge, am walking over to disqualify the player. There's no pleasure in it because something has gone wrong. And something's gone wrong with that player, but you never feel good when you're pulling that trigger. Yeah, I already knew which one. When analyzing a cheating situation, take a moment to think. How is the cheated player being treated in this? Good judges, great judges, it takes a team. When you have a suspicion, go to your second, your head judge. Or if you're the head judge, go to your TO or your second and discuss. There's a reason you have a suspicion something's not right. You should be analyzing those situations more and more. And I hate to end it on such a heavy note, and that's why I didn't put all the fun little pictures on mine, because I think we are turning the corner. I think we are getting to a point with judging where we're saying, I want it to be fair. Fun, fast, and fair. Efficient, fast, and fair, whatever 3 words we use. Those are the 3 goals of anybody doing a tournament. Not just to give Corey Scott whatever Snorlax he wants on any given day. Before I get to questions, I'm going to end with just a few things, just some housekeeping announcements. Number 1, we have red books. I would ask every judge to pick up a red book right where the judge is holding it up. What does this have in it? This was a quick hitter of some of the best resources in judging. And the first piece is by my friend Kim Carey, who has had a document as an absolute passion. And even if you're not a professor, pick one up. The Judge Manual has been a work in progress and a work of love over the past, what would you say, about 10 years, 15 years for Kim. And we keep changing it, we keep making iterations. And every time we turn around, we say, all right, let's start working on it again. Let's get some help. Let's keep it moving. And I'd ask everybody, the forums, the Poke Gym, there's a lot of good places. If you've got comments for the Judge Manual, let's start a thread. Let's keep this document alive, and let's keep this document working forward. There's the penalty guidelines here, tournament operations. So you get that question, how many players get a day 2 for seniors? Sorry guys, 227. You're about 30 short right now. But there's a lot of good material in here. Also, you'll notice there's a few other things that are back by there. If you grab a red book, you are also welcome to grab a professor deck box, a set of professor sleeves, and a professor patch. So in order for some non-light reading, I'm giving you free toys to go. More accurately, Pokemon has given us free toys to get